Deputy Leader of the Opposition in the Rajya Sabha, Ravi Shankar Prasad, debating with Union Information and Broadcasting Minister Manish Tiwari. We are talking here about the national impact of a very important state election. Ravi Shankar Prasad and Manish Tiwari, welcome. It's fantastic to have both of you on this one-on-one Congress-BJP debate on a very important day. Mr. Manish Tiwari, what in your view are the lessons of the Karnataka election at a national level?
Well, I think the first takeaway of the Karnataka elections is that the politics of disruption that the Bharatiya Janata Party has practiced has not worked. You know, if you look at Karnataka in the backdrop of events which took place in Parliament, that Parliament was disrupted, it was not allowed to function, key legislation was not allowed to go through with the intent of trying to deflect from the 5 years of misrule in Karnataka. It has not worked for the Bharatiya Janata Party. So I think they need to really introspect about their political strategy. They need to rethink as to whether, disruption is a legitimate parliamentary tactic as they've been preaching for all these years.
Mr. Prasad.
Well, Arnav, let me begin with one very frank admission. We have lost Karnataka and Congress has won. And I think I need to publicly congratulate Mr. Manish Tiwari because he needs a smile, his party needs a smile, because from tomorrow the countdown will start. All the coming state elections and the national elections are going to be ours. Therefore, I without any grudge, I grant a wholesome smile for Manish Tiwari and his party for Karnataka victory today. Why we lost Karnataka? After all, we had to choose between power and principles. Even eminent Bangalorean today have considered on different channels that the immediate 3 years of our governance was very good. Then came the whole corruption issue. We tried to convince Mr. Yedurappa to see reasons. Ultimately, we made him to resign. But thereafter a situation came, he insisted either my way or highway, and we parted company. We have paid the price. Today, I was on some channel where the calculation was made roughly or now that nearly 50 to 53 seats we lost. And the margin of victory of Congress is what Mr. Yedurappa's party took away from us. Therefore, we have paid a very heavy price for sticking to our principles.
Are you regretting
what is the
it?
lesson?
You almost speak as if you are regretting it.
Not the least, not the least. On the contrary, we are very proud of it. Now, as far as to respond to Mr. Manish Tiwari's issue on parliament disruption is concerned, Parliament is a place for debate. Parliament is also a place for accountability. There will be a scam after a scam and determined, brazen way not to ensure accountability, whether it is the law minister, whether it is the Colgate, whether it is Mr. Railgate. And we are not sure or no whether in coming week or 10 days one more scam may not come out in the open. Therefore, we are willing to debate, but we also want to insist accountability. And the central government, Congress-led government, runs away from accountability. That will entail certain confrontation which has taken place.
Mr. Tiwari, 2 points made there, actually 3. One, he says, I will not grudge Manish Tiwari a smile because all elections after this will be ours. Second, he says, we had to choose between power and principle. We chose principle, hinting, in other words, that your party chooses power. Third, he's promising you more disruption because he says you lack accountability on the several gates which have broken out of late. Mr. Manish Tiwari, your response, please, to the BJP.
Well, I think Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad would recall that insofar as they are concerned, the countdown of our government started for them within 15 days of us forming a government in 2004. And that countdown is continuing. It continued till 2009. It will continue through 2014 also. So therefore, if they are under certain delusions, well, I think, I leave it to them to live in the make-believe world that they are in. Insofar as disruption is concerned or political accountability is concerned, I agree with Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad absolutely that government is accountable to Parliament. Now, how do you hold that government accountable? Do you hold that government accountable by debating? Do you hold that government accountable by disruption? He talked about Colgate and Railgate, but all that we've been seeing over the last 3 years from the Bharatiya Janata Party is Lunggate. that every time Parliament is convened, you use your lung power in order to disrupt it. And insofar as his third argument is concerned, which he made about principles and politics, I think that's a self-serving argument. Look at the number of people who had corruption charges against them who were given tickets by the Bharatiya Janata Party. They talk about a developmental model. I regret saying this, but I say it with the utmost of humility that the Karnataka model of the BJP was corruption, communalism and crony capitalism, and that's what's been rejected today.
He says we chose principle. Would you deny, Mr. Manish Tiwari, that they chose the difficult decision of removing somebody whose removal could have cost them an election in a state, whereas your party is not even removing somebody whose actions have been clearly and openly pulled up, chastised and questioned by the Supreme Court of India today?
All that I would request you to do, Arnab, is to rewind to your own coverage of the entire Karnataka saga. Kicking and screaming when the whole state was up in arms. They were compelled to take a decision. Now, if they want to make a virtue out of it, 2 years down the line, well, that's an extremely self-serving argument. And insofar as your second point is concerned, I think these are two parallel processes. We went to the People's Court in Karnataka under the leadership of Mr. Rahul Gandhi. He was superintending the elections, and I think the victory in Karnataka, to a very great extent, has a lot to do with the trajectory of that superintendence, and you have to give him that. Insofar as the judicial process is concerned, allow me to complete, because the audio is a little strained, so just allow me to complete the argument. Insofar as the judicial process is concerned, we respect the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has made certain observations. They have given certain directions. We are duty-bound to honor whatever the Supreme Court says. And when the matter comes up on the 10th of July, on the other side of the vacation, the court has fixed it in their wisdom. We will address the court through our law officers.
You're buying time. You're
buying time. 10th of July is the next hearing.
Well, you're buying time. I mean, I thought till yesterday your party said wait till Wednesday. Now it's Wednesday, you are saying wait till the next hearing. I think, Manish Tiwari, that does amount to buying time, but I'll let Ravi Shankar Prasad respond, to your very scathing observations, including your observation that it was a compulsion, that is your necessity you're trying to make into a virtue, and Ravi Shankar Prasad is right. You did not want to remove Yediyurappa. You attacked the media when we questioned Yediyurappa. Your party leader said the media was motivated against Yediyurappa. Why are you making it an issue of principle today? Are you on solid ground when you say so, Mr. Prasad? Do respond.
First of all, the day the FIR was filed, the next day he was removed. You remember it. We know that we are going to pay a very heavy price. And this marks the difference between the Congress and the BJP or no. They cannot dispense with the services of a law minister who is political lightweight. They cannot dispense with the services of a railway minister surrounded with serious corruption charges who is, I'm sorry to say, the political lightweight. But here is the case, when the crunch came, we sacrificed the chief minister knowing fully well that we will have to pay a big political price. Now, coming to the political accountability part, he is right that it is a forum for debate. But now let me ask a question in view of a senior minister of the government of India telling that Supreme Court's observations are nothing, wait till 10th of July. A debate in the parliament would have led to the same answer. No accountability. In spite of Prime Minister telling inside and outside the parliament when Colgate happened that I promised a free and fair probe. Today was the day when their law minister was seeking to make substantial changes in the status report, where the Supreme Court found that the Joint Secretary of Prime Minister had no business to attend. 2 quick points more. The Prime Minister assured the Parliament that I will see to it that all those accused in Sikh massacre of 84 will be given a fair trial and proper conviction. Contrary to that, we have seen how Sajjan Kumar was sought to be protected by investigating agency. Your channel has followed that. Thirdly, again on the question of accountability, the Prime Minister assured both the houses, last point, in the Commonwealth issue, in the wake of Shunglu Committee report, I will take action. Shunglu Committee report gave his stinging observations, file FIR against Sheila Dikshit government. Has anything happened? Therefore, if that is the convention of accountability of this government, then I'm sorry, some confrontation will take place, and we demand accountability, and we shall continue to demand accountability.
A challenge on the issue of accountability thrown back to the minister. Go ahead, Mr. Tiwari, do respond. Our panelists are watching this debate with great keenness, and I'm so sure our viewers are as well. Yes, Mr. Manish Tiwari, your turn now.
I'm very surprised that Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad chooses to make the argument of accountability on a day when they have been decimated by the people of Karnataka for their malgovernance over a period of 5 years. As I earlier said, that their model of governance, which rested on 3 legs, corruption, communalism and crony capitalism, has been rejected by the people. And I'm quite surprised that somebody who is a very distinguished member of the bar, whom I personally hold in great respect, who's been a former law minister of the country, wants us to respond to a subjudice matter, outside the framework of the judicial system. I find that to be completely bizarre. I think it is incumbent upon the government, as it respects the Supreme Court, to maintain the sanctity of institutions and to address the court, try and satisfy the court on the queries which they have raised and honor the directions which they have given.
Who's transgressing? Who's transgressing and who's dodging? Is Manish Tiwari dodging or is Ravi Shankar Prasad transgressing the line? I leave that to the opinion of viewers. Ravi Shankar Prasad, your response. After that, I'm going straight to our panelists. They have a few questions as well on the BJP Congress situation tonight. Ravi Shankar Prasad, the minister, says, you should know better, he says, as a senior lawyer and a member of the bar who he respects. You should know better than to comment on the Supreme Court before the final order comes out.
Well, Supreme Court, does my very good friend Manish Tiwari want that Supreme Court in the order say remove the law minister? Does Mr. Manish Tiwari want that the Supreme Court must say in its order that the Attorney General was found to be speaking a lie? What is the meaning of accountability? Aren't the Supreme Court observation enough, which Arnav Goswami, you have debated ad nauseam today for the whole day and very eloquently? If that is the degree of accountability,
just let him complete.
If that is the degree of accountability, then I'm very pained to say that the nation through times now will see the Congress understanding of accountability. Today, it is not a case of Joint Secretary in the Prime Minister office trying to fiddle.
Yes,
Law Minister, Attorney General, all were found to be seriously remiss in their duties. Will there be any accountability?
Well, I am quite surprised, Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad. I almost hear you trying to prejudge or predict the outcome of judicial proceedings. I think this is completely unprecedented. In a matter which is sub judice, in which there is a continuing mandamus, don't you think it is wise to defer to the court? It is appropriate for the government to address and try and satisfy the court, honor the directions of the court, but if you want to use that to deflect from your defeat in Karnataka, then please go ahead and be my guest and have the biggest smile on your face.
Deflecting it, okay. I don't know who's deflecting.
It is most unfortunate that the former law minister of the country, does not want the incumbent government, to honor the constitutional scheme.
Yes, Mr. Prasad, last response and then we move into our panel.
Very quickly, I'm very sorry to say, the Supreme Court today restraining the CBI from sharing the content of its report with any functionary in the government, including the Director of Prosecution, who is an officer of law ministry in the CBI. The Supreme Court today bringing back Mr. Ravi Kant as a part of investigation. He was shunted out. And the Supreme Court today telling the CBI to respond, should we appoint a retired High Court judge or should we go for the SIT? Are these lessons to be learned for the government of the day on the issue of accountability or not? And my last point is, or no, yes, we have lost Karnataka. Let me say it very bluntly. Suppose we lose the entire country for the sake of argument. Does it give any lease or license to the government of the day to loot the country with no accountability? That is equally important, which we cannot lose sight of.
Important points here. I mean, with due respect to Mr. Manish Tiwari, who says, you cannot discuss issues before the final order of the Supreme Court comes out. The fact of the matter is that the Supreme Court has already said the heart of the CBI report was changed on the suggestions of government officials, and therefore has confirmed that the political executive interfered in the Colgate report. So, Mr. Manish Tiwari, with the greatest of respect to you and your views, my view is that the Supreme Court has torn into the government argument, demolished the government argument as far as Colgate is concerned, questioned how the Joint Secretary and the PMO went to the CBI office to produce the report, told the government you cannot interact with CBI, between the CBI and PMO officials, and also said that the minister cannot ask for interfere in the investigation. He can ask for the status of the investigation. So, Mr. Manish Tiwari, you may say we may not discuss, but the fact is the Supreme Court of India has already made up its minds on these very contentious issues the whole country has been talking about. To my panel, we are going to look at this in detail. To my panel, the question is this.
Because you've made a very long argument, I think it would be just fair that I respond to it.
If you wish to, yes, please. Otherwise, we'll go back to Karnataka. Please go ahead.
Well, I think it is incumbent for you and your viewers to realize that we hold the court in the highest esteem, and it is our responsibility to respond to the court, to address the concerns which they have raised, implement the directions which they have given, but the appropriate fora to do that is on the other side of the vacation on the 10th of July when they fix the matter for hearing. It is all right for Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad or some other people in the opposition to do their politics on it, but as a responsible government which respects institutions, I think it is only fair that we respond to what the court wants us to respond to through our law officers on the 10th of July.
You're being very careful. You're being very careful today. Very, very careful. You may have your reasons for doing so. But now I want to go back to Karnataka because we are going to discuss the issue of the Supreme Court when we have discussed and we'll debate the Supreme Court Colgate cover-up in some time. My question here is this. To our panel, what do you make of Manish Tiwari's, giving a fair amount of credit to the Karnataka result to Rahul Gandhi? Do you think the stock of UPA 3 under Rahul Gandhi is now becoming more solid? Lord Meghnad Desai, and to any of our panelists, would you like to come in on that?
I have said all through the morning that this is Rahul Gandhi's first success, or the first success that can be attributed to Rahul Gandhi with or without objective logic. And I think Congress will obviously take it. They need a good news story. Karnataka is a good news story in which Rahul Gandhi played a visible part.
True.
And therefore, and right now there is a vacuum at the top because of what's happened to in the Supreme Court. So they will grab Rahul Gandhi's good luck while they can.
Vinod Mehta.
Adnab, whatever credit you might want to give Rahul Gandhi for the Karnataka election, and I think some credit is possibly due. I think anybody who follows politics in India with any kind of independence will conclude that the victory in Karnataka was handed on a platter to the Congress.
Handed on a platter?
To the Congress by and large. And on a normal day, you could say 50-50. They won Karnataka and they got hammering in the Supreme Court. But the pronouncements of the Supreme Court, whichever way you look at them, you look at them at top, bottom, this, that, you can do whatever you like to them. They are an indictment not just of individual ministers. They point the finger right to the top. So, for the Congress, the Prime Minister's office and the Prime Minister himself has been squarely indicted by the Supreme Court.
So you think that that's taken off the sheen of the Karnataka victory?
Absolutely.
Okay, taken off the
sheen.
You
can't have, 1 minute, just one line. See, the Karnataka election is one thing. If you have a government in which there's a question mark against the Prime Minister's integrity, professionalism, probity, what kind of government are you going to have for the next 7, 8? You can carry on. You can.
Manish Tiwari has raised his hand out there. Manish Tiwari has raised his hand out there. Vinod Mehta, I think he heard you there. Yes, do respond to Mr. Mehta.
I think with all due respect to Mr. Vinod Mehta, his observations are completely erroneous and totally off the charts. if you read the Supreme Court order, there is no indictment of the government, much less the Prime Minister. The Supreme Court has given certain directions. At the bar of the court, they may have asked for certain clarifications, and we would address the court accordingly. But to extrapolate from that and say that there's been an indictment of the government or of the Prime Minister, I'm sorry, Mr. Vinod Mehta, with all due respects to you, and you know that I personally respect you a hell of a lot, but this is completely bizarre, totally out of line and off the charts.
How can Joint Secretary can visit the CBI office?
Well, Mr. Vinod Mehta, it is a subjudice matter, there's a continuing mandamus. We will address the court. You know, how can you come to conclusions that there's been an indictment? Is there a single word of indictment in the order? You know, how can you come to these completely, for the lack of a better word, bizarre conclusions? I mean, you're such a senior, eminent, respected editor. I don't think you can prejudge issues in this manner.
Africa, one small point. I may have made a mistake with the word indictment, but there is very strong criticism of the Prime Minister's office and the Coal Ministry's office that whatever language you use, you can't get away from the fact that the Supreme Court has put the ball back in the Prime Minister's office to explain how various things happened. And that, if you have a democracy in which the Prime Minister, question mark, people are asking, how are you going to run the government?
Mr. Manish Tiwari, at the beginning of the program,
allow me, Navika, to respond to that. Allow me, Navika, for a moment to respond to that. You know, Mr. Vinod Mehta, you know, raises certain legitimate questions. But Mr. Vinod Mehta, as an editor, also knows that it is incumbent upon the government to address the court and satisfy the court. Don't you think it is fair for you to grant us that prerogative that if at all the court has made some observations, they have given certain directions, we would respond to it. But why are you prejudging issues? And I think between indictment and criticism, you know, if somebody understands the distinction, I'm sure Mr. Vinod Mehta does.
No, Mr. Tiwari, not prejudging it, but there is one part where, in my humble opinion, Mr. Tiwari, the court has already made up its mind. And that is the following, where the court says the heart of the report was changed on the suggestions of government officials. The court does not ask, was the heart of the report changed on the suggestions of government officials? It says the heart of the report was changed on the suggestions of government officials. In other words, this completely debunks the CBI's contention that the central theme of the report was altered.
Those two government officials come from the Prime Minister's office and the Coal Ministry. The two officials come from the Prime Minister's office and the Coal Ministry.
Mr.
Navika, go ahead.
At the start of the program, you said that Karnataka was lost because of corruption charges against the BJP. But there seems to be a competitive corruption contest between the two sides. Today's observations of the court, you say, do not tantamount to any finger pointing at the government. The court has recorded, and that's the most important part, that the law minister saw the report and made substantial changes. That's the most key part of the observation of the order that has been given by the court. And allow me to finish, Mr. Tiwari. It also says, along with the two joint secretaries of the PMO and the Coal Ministry. Now, it encompasses the law minister, the two joint secretaries of the PMO and the Coal Ministry, whose advice were they working on. All that has been recorded by the court. Do you still think that there is any leg room for the government to argue to the contrary?
Navika, first of all, you know, when you go to Karnataka, let's not forget, it is not only Karnataka. There was a campaign of calumny which was run against the chief ministerial candidate in Himachal Pradesh, Mr. Veerbhadra Singh. It came to a complete knot. In Uttarakhand, the entire developmental model of the Bharatiya Janata Party collapsed like a house of cards. And insofar as judicial proceedings and political processes are concerned, they are on parallel tracks. We went to the People's Court. the people gave a verdict in our favor and against the malgovernance of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Insofar as the judicial process is concerned, we have the greatest respect for the Supreme Court. We hold it in the highest esteem. But I think you need to grant us that liberty that if the court has fixed the matter on the 10th of July, on the other side of the vacation, we are allowed to address the court and satisfy it. So therefore, all I am saying is, please do not come to predetermined conclusions which tantamounts to prejudging the outcome of judicial proceedings.
Mr. Tiwari, let me be very direct with you on this. Is the government becoming brazen? Is there a sense that we will brazen this out? You know, we will brazen it out. This issue is coming up again and again. I'd like to ask you directly, is there a sense?
Well, to answer you directly, Mr. Arnab Goswami, over the past 9 years, we have been extremely sensitive on every question of malfeasance, indiscretion or alleged corruption. But that has to be juxtaposed with judicial processes and legal processes being allowed to play themselves out. And so therefore, you know, excuse my saying so, I, as the Information and Broadcasting Minister, do not use this terminology, but let us not have parallel trials in this country, a media trial and a judicial process. You are free to comment on judicial proceedings, but I think there needs to be a certain amount of sobriety in the manner in which we do so.
Well, some issues have come out in the public domain, Mr. Tiwari, with the greatest of respect to you. I don't know how much sobriety there is in the railway minister's nephew, you know, taking money from somebody else, allegedly for selling posts. I mean, there is a question of that as well, and the responsibility of an independent media is to continue to ask questions of accountability, and I'm sure that you respect that.
Mr. Goswami, you are absolutely correct. There is an investigation underway. The railway minister has welcomed that investigation. We absolutely do not grudge the media, the independent media, the rights they have under Article 19. In fact, if you juxtapose our conduct against the conduct of the NDA government, you would see as to how liberal and absolutely objective that we have been in dealing with the media. But let's also not forget, this is the same Supreme Court. This is the same Supreme Court which has given an ordinary individual the right to access constitutional court if he feels that his independence or his right to free trial is being threatened by a media trial. It's the same Supreme Court and a constitution bench of the court which has now given that liberty to an individual. So I think we need to balance the imperatives, and the court has very clearly said that when there's a conflict between Article 19 and Article 21, 21 has to prevail.
I'm absolutely sure, but it is also the same Supreme Court. It is the same Supreme Court which has asked what business does the Joint Secretary Cole and PMO have to go to the CBI office to pay. One second. Are we looking? Fundamentally, the question I wanted to ask, which didn't get answered, is this. There is a sense that at some point, the UPA too is wishing to go in for an early election. It's not going to tell us, but it realizes that the Samajwadi Party support cannot be taken for granted. It feels it has been buoyed to some extent by the Karnataka results, and it's not sure about the next set of state elections. And presumably, Aarti Jairat, I want you in on this. Do you think, I don't expect Manish Tiwari to say so today, on the day of the Karnataka result, but do you...
Before you go to Aarti, let me respond to that.
You will reject it. I know you'll reject it. I know you'll reject it, Mr. Tiwari.
Can I just...
respond.
Yeah, Arnab, I think, you know...
just hear Aarti Jairat, please.
If you read the subtext and all that Manish Tiwari has been saying, I think there are very clear indications of what the Congress strategy is going to be. Number one, use the Karnataka victory to begin soft projection of Rahul Gandhi by attributing the victory to him. Number two, take shelter behind technicalities to protect your ministers, the two ministers who are in trouble, to protect your Prime Minister, and, you know, wait, and you keep postponing it till you're talking now about July 10th.
As far as you can.
Number three, push through your so-called pro-poor measures like the food security bill, the land acquisition bill, through an ordinance.
To neutralize the various gates.
And to protect yourselves against a possible pullout by the Samajwadi Party, or, you know, some eventuality, you know, or, you know, your own compulsion to go in for early election because your government's going to collapse under its own contradictions. So I think these three things are fairly clearly coming out.
Yeah, well, surely it is Meghnad Desai. I wanted to add something.
I just want to add one thing. I think Manish Tiwari will make a superb law minister when Ashwini Kumar is gone.
Well, that's a nice backhanded
I'm very happy doing the job I am, Lord Meghnad Desai. So therefore, please do not be under any misconception that I'm looking for a change of job.
Ravi Shankar Prasad, please, wants to come in. I'm glad to see smiles on the day of an election on both sides, and I'm happy today even the losing side is smiling. Yes, Ravi Shankar Prasad, please.
First of all, I always smile, even if we lose politically, substantively. First of all, Arno, today my understanding of Constitution on the rights of media, Article 19 and 21, has become fairly enriched. And I'm going to revisit my own understanding of these postulates. I'll surely go by that. But you asked a very, very important question. And what was that question? Will the government brazen it out? Why even lightweight political leaders who are ministers are not being spared? Why? The reason is very simple. Once it is done, the Prime Minister comes directly under line of fire. That is the reason. Or now, with some little experience of governance, let me ask a question. Would a joint secretary call a meeting of CBI officials investigating a sensitive case without the clear mandate of the Prime Minister or Secretary of the Prime Minister? Would a joint secretary of coal even venture to make alteration in status report without the authorization of the coal minister? Would the law minister call a meeting without any authorization from some higher-ups? Therefore, Dr. Manmohan Singh is trying to brazen out, in spite of these stinging observations and also orders which you read, substantial changes by the law minister. Because if law minister is removed, then Dr. Manmohan Singh comes in the line of fire. If Mr. Bansal is removed, ultimately the same yardstick shall be applied. I can understand their political compulsions, but ultimately you asked me a question and he asked about parliamentary disruptions. Let me again say, the same logic could have been invented in the most brazen fashion in the reply in the parliament after a debate. Should we accept that? That will lead to certain confrontations. Therefore...
But you are the deputy leader of the opposition in the Rajya Sabha. You have the numbers in the Rajya Sabha. You can handle it that way. Manish Tiwari, yes, please. Yes, coming to you after that. Manish Tiwari,
I don't grudge my good friend Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad the politics of insinuation and the politics of conjecture on a day when they've been decimated in Karnataka. But what I'm hearing from him extremely worries me, because what he is saying is that we are going to subvert the entire democratic system. We are going to scrap the entire democratic system. We will not allow Parliament to function.
I never said that. Sorry, I never said that.
Highway. That's exactly what you implied. Since we are going by insinuation, we are going by conjecture, we are going by innuendo. That's what the implication is. That we will not allow Parliament to function, come what may. This is what I'm hearing from you, sir.
He wishes to clarify, he didn't say that. He wishes to clarify, he didn't say that. But two of our panelists also have not spoken. In fact, three, on the issue of brazenness. One second. There is a fear, Mr. Manish Tiwari, that, sort of a very recharged Congress party after the Karnataka elections will become even more brazen, perhaps. And Hartosh and Ajay Bose also have some observations on that. Hartosh is coming to nature.
Manish Tiwari is making such a facile and at the same time such a ridiculous argument.
Hartosh, you want to speak a little more loudly.
Himself.
Hartosh, he wants you to speak loudly. Yes, he's not being very flattering to the government, but yes.
Mr. Tiwari, what I'm saying is that your argument is so facile and ridiculous. On a day where the law minister has been accused, or the implication is clearly that he has tampered with the report he has no business tampering with. He is telling us that we, as citizens of this country, have no right to be bothered by this. The government has no duty or obligation to answer to us, and they will go in a month or two or whenever they feel like, satisfy the court, and that is all. That is a ridiculous position in a democracy for a government to take.
Okay, Ajay Bose. We can go on. Obviously...
Hartosh, I obviously do not lend myself to the kind of vocabulary which you tend to use. but may I very respectfully submit to you that your reading of the Supreme Court order, if at all you have read it, is completely erroneous. I would request you to revisit the Supreme Court order, try and internalize it, try and absorb its implications and its nuances, and then we can have a discussion on it.
Ajay Bose wanted to make
we'll get no joy out
What
of...
is the broader political
we'll
picture?
get no joy out of Manish Tiwari.
Today, three things happened. Parliament got called sine die. The Congress party won a spectacular victory in the state of Karnataka, greater than even some congressmen expected. It's much like they did in Assam. And the third thing is that the Supreme Court observations have been scathing of the government. In your view, what is the overall political situation building up to? Are we building up to an early general election?
So that is the question.
Yes, that's the question.
The big question is, I'm sure the Congress will give credit for the Karnataka elections to Rahul Gandhi, and that's already started.
Rahul Gandhi.
The main thing to see is whether this very reluctant heir apparent will be emboldened now to take the next step forward.
Which is what?
Which is basically go ahead and become the spearhead of the Congress campaign for the next year. And I think that is the big question.
That is the big question. Nirja, please, hasn't come in yet. A very important point here being raised here that if you are readying for an election, even if you're in countdown mode, now is the time for Rahul Gandhi.
Yes.
Not to cloak himself with political uncertainty about what he will do, but to become a spearhead. Nirja Chaudhary, please. Yes, Nirja.
I wanted to make a couple of points.
Yes.
One to Mr. Manish Tiwari. I would have expected from somebody like Mr. Tiwari an expression of pride in the media of India, a vibrant media, which does not allow things to be pushed under the carpet. Now, media is guilty of many things. It's made many mistakes. There are many negativities. But don't shoot the messenger by talking about media trial when we raise uncomfortable questions. As for Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad, I feel this thing of disruption of Parliament becoming the language of Parliament is irresponsible. It cannot go on, and it doesn't build for accountability. You can afterwards go and, mobilize people.
You're saying the BJP has exhausted You're saying the BJP has overstretched the disruptions in Parliament.
Absolutely, and it is not going down well at all, and nor does it build for accountability. You call for that accountability on the floor of the House.
I would like to ask Ravi Shankar Prasad a question.
Go ahead, Vinod Mehta to Ravi Shankar Prasad. Mr. Prasad.
They have such explosive ammunition against the Congress. In the House, if they held a debate, they could hold the Prime Minister to account, they could hold the Law Minister
on the floor of Parliament.
I would go further and say that they are losing a great opportunity. They talk of accountability. Accountability is to be settled in Parliament, not in TV studios. The BJP discusses Colgate, everything in TV studios, but refuses to discuss it in the House.
Very
I am
important.
very surprised. They are not against discussion. Okay. They are only against discussion in the House.
Two of our very senior panelists are saying to you, Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad, and they, let me tell you, Vinod Mehta and Nirja Chaudhary have been most scathing of the government on Colgate and Railgate, and they are questioning your manner in which you are disrupting Parliament, calling it predictable and unwarranted. Mr. Prasad, I want you to comment on that, but before that, Navika also wants to add in. Yes, Navika, please.
Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad, you've been very critical of the Prime Minister. In fact, in your press conference the other day, you said, you used a very popular Hindi song and you said, Kya hua tera wada? The question goes out to the BJP as well. Wo subha kabhi to aayegi. Because you're going down and down. You've lost 3 states. You're infighting within yourselves. You don't seem to have a plan of action for 2014. God forbid if it's 2013, you have even lesser time. What is the BJP's plan of action?
Exactly, and you've lost 3 elections. You've lost Uttarakhand, you've lost Himachal Pradesh, and now you've lost Gujarat. You had 3 chief ministers. Karnataka. Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad, beyond the disruption. Look beyond the disruption.
Surely. First of all, we have very recently won very conclusively all the municipality and mayoral election in Uttarakhand. Therefore, it is not that bad.
Now
but
you're
yes,
looking at municipality elections, Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad.
Navika, I was only putting the record straight, please. First of all, on
We
the
are talking
question of
about
Parliament.
national elections, Ravi Shankar
Surely,
Prasad. We are not talking about municipality elections.
Navika, I am responding to all your queries. Give me some time, please. First of all, on the Parliament issue, Nirja Chaudhary and Vinod Mehta are very right. We hold Parliament very dearly. We debated 2G ad nauseum. We debated Colgate also. We raised questions. What happened in JPC is for all of us to see. Therefore, if there is also a systematic way to deny one of the most important component of parliamentary democracy, accountability, problems will arise. And today at least, or now, with great respect to your eminent panelist, we could have heard some different argument from the government. But if that is the argument, the same could have been repeated. Ultimately, in such a situation, some confrontation would be there. But I totally agree with you, it will not be the norm, it shall never be the norm. But if they have been given the chance to govern, we have been given the right to monitor them. And we shall articulate that. Now coming to the second issue, I must be the second point. The second point, Manish Tiwari.
I'm allowing a rebut, Mr. Prasad.
No, please, Manish Tiwari, please. Manish Tiwari, please, I must respond to the second point. Manish Tiwari, please.
I'll defer to you, sir.
The second part.
Defer to you.
Navika, let me tell you, wo subah zarur aayegi. The nation is waiting for that subah. And what I began at the very beginning, today was the day of a smile for the Congress. Their countdown will begin from tomorrow. Yes, we have to restore take care of some of the problems which have arisen in Karnataka. I'm sure this is an occasion for us to introspect, address the concerns, which we shall do. We are not a family party. But I wish to assure you, your panelists, and also the people of the country, that wo hum subah la kar dikhayenge, the country deserves better.
There was another TV serial or movie, I think, which said "Is raat ki subah nahi." You know, I think it was a movie in the 90s. I hope the BJP, but I think this is all getting very corny right now. Mr. Prasad Mr. Tiwari is responding to you. Two comments from our panelists, and then we'll conclude this part.
No,
yes, Mr. Tiwari.
I just wanted to very respectfully tell Nirja ji, I have the highest respect for the independent media of this country. I think a lot of what I am is also because of the affection which the media has shown. But, you know, there is another reality. And the other reality is, Nirja ji, that you have 415 news channels in this country. And if they get after a single individual, it is like 415 600-pound gorillas getting after a person, and that's not a very pleasant feeling. I just wanted to point that out to you. And the second thing which I wanted to say to Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad is...
Tell me one thing. Are you saying that all the news channels are after, for example, Ashwini Kumar? And just because there are a lot of channels...
All that I'm saying is that, you know, all that I'm saying, Arnab, is that we need to make a distinction between what is objective reportage and what crosses the line.
Yes.
I leave it to the media. That's for you to introspect. We believe in self-regulation. We believe in the independence of the media. But I would just like to park this thought with you, since you have a lot of eminent media people on your panel today. And to respond to Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad, allow me to complete. Just to respond to Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad, you know, they started our countdown 15 days after 2004. The countdown is still continuing. It'll continue till through 2014 also. I wish my friend Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad all the luck.
1 minute of the debate. We have to move to our next panel.
So do we assume that the bottom line of this entire discussion is that both the law minister and the railways minister are going to stay?
Yes.
Well,
no reason to get rid of them.
Well, the bottom line of this discussion is that there is an investigation in process. There is a judicial process which is underway. The matter is subjudice. We will address the court on the 10th of July. And to answer it in a lighter vein, these questions, unfortunately, Nirjaji or RC, whosoever asked them, are way above my pay grade.
You think a favorable mandate glosses over all wrongs?
Yes, can you repeat that?
I'm saying, Mr. Manish Tiwari, are you taking mandate theory too seriously? That a favorable
I can't hear you. You'll have to repeat
it. The question is that do you think a favorable verdict glosses over all wrongs?
Well, I think ultimately you have to believe in the integrity of certain processes. And as I started by saying, there's a political process. We went to the People's Court. They vindicated us, deprecated the BJP. There is a judicial process which is underway. I think we should bow to the integrity of the process and allow it to play.
That does not, however, allow. That does not, however, as the Supreme Court says, allow the Joint Secretary Cole and the PMO to go to the CBI office.
Well, that's your interpretation.
And the job of the CBI is to interrogate, not
believe in a
interact.
free media. I am not going to take away your right to arrive at your own conclusions.
These are not conclusions, these are the observations of the Supreme Court. I wish I was as gifted as the Supreme Court to be making these these are the observations of the Supreme Court, Mr. Tiwari.
But Arnab, thank you very much. You know, I'll unfortunately have to leave you, but it's been an enlightening discussion.
One second.
And if I said something which has hurt somebody, you know, please take it in the spirit of the sparring which goes on in a debate.
That's all right. That's all right. Mr. Tiwari, congratulations on the Karnataka victory. Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad, thank you for being so sporting, and thank you for joining us on that panel.